In our final project, we worked with two groups of fifth graders from the Smith College campus school. We started with a question of how does the physical landscape of a playground influence how communities form? To give some background information, the campus school was planning a redesign of their playground, and the teachers were hoping to engage their students in rethinking the ways in which they relate to each other and relate to the space. The first step we took after defining the question was observation. From recess, it was clear that sports are a dominant activity in terms of space. Other students were seen walking around the playground without a specific activity, stomping on the muddy grass, individually on the swings, and talking to each other in specific areas of the playground, like the blue bin. Then it was time to meet the students. What were they thinking? We met them in their classroom and asked them questions in groups about the playground. The questions we asked were, what are your favorite activities on the playground? Do you do these activities alone or with a group? Do you go to the same places every day? From the first day, we learned that there seemed to be a gender divide in the types of activities that students engaged in, and that the students were aware of this. There was a large group of boys who always play some sort of sport, usually taking up the whole field. We learned that some girls have tried to play with them before, but didn't have a positive experience trying to do so. One student said even when she joined the soccer game, she would never get passed to. Students also said they wish they could do more in the space, but can't right now because of the weather, safety concerns, or the lack of space because of sports. Some also said that they wish they could find more people with the same interests to play with. The second time we met with the students, we engaged with them in a mapping activity to further stir their awareness of how they were using the playground. We asked them, what would they like to see on the playground, and what do you dislike or like about the playground? Students had a lot of ideas about physical changes. However, given that we couldn't actually physically change the landscape for the scope of our project, we shifted our focus to changing social behavior and reframed our question to, given the constraint of the existing physical landscape, is it possible to rearrange the social landscape to have a more interactive recess? After debriefing with Paul and Emily, the fifth grade teachers, we started to think about how we can engage the students to be more aware of their community playground behavior. In our prototyping phase, we created a small prototype of an individual writing activity to try to get the students to think about empathy and how they treat each other on the playground. We learned that a majority of the students understand what empathy is. However, it is unclear if they actually know how to access it in the playground. At our mid-project check-in, Paul mentioned how he thought students were not aware of the concept of giving something up so another student can thrive. Thinking about this, we decided to hone in on the idea of using empathy as a way to influence the social landscape. We hypothesized that we needed to get the students out of the classroom to try a more interactive activity where students can utilize empathy and teamwork to accomplish a task. In our prototype iteration 1, our first test was a human alphabet game in which the whole class had to work together to spell out with their bodies a certain phrase that the teacher would guess. We increased the difficulty in the second round to test if group dynamics would change. Some students took the lead and others were not as engaged because they were the first to become a letter, but we learned that the idea of equal play during mild team challenge and simple rules created a game that was enjoyable for all. In their own words,
why was it a challenge?
Just because not everyone was always paying attention, and you kind of had to get their attention, and people had preferences, and people forgot not to talk, but it was really, really fun. I had a lot of fun.
In our next iterations, we tried instant replays of the group working together. We showed the students videos of them doing the challenge the week before and had a discussion about how they worked together as a community. Students brainstormed about different rules to the challenge that they could try the next day. In the last session, we split the students into two groups and asked them to do the challenge. This time, we had students guessing the other group's configuration and had two new constraints. One group had 3 students being leaders, and in the second round, one group had no talking. After the challenge, we debriefed with the students about how the game went and what they learned about themselves and their community throughout the design thinking process. Here were some of their thoughts.
I think what really worked is if a couple people in each group worked on a certain section of a word.
I think what we were trying to get out of this exercise is teamwork.
I kind of think that we've tried new things on the playground a bit. We just tried to expand our what we do at recess and who we hang out with, who we just do stuff with. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a more positive vibe.
Yes, Hazel.
There's also like different groups like hanging out with each other, like just like there's like more people like swinging or like on the play structure, and it's just like people are kind of getting out of their normal routine, just like I don't know, like always meeting their friends at the stage or like always like playing a sport on the field or like something, and just like kind of trying new things and like moving on to different things. That we should be grateful that we have such a great recreational place, such a great playground, because many schools don't have something like this.
That's an important point.
No, it's up to you guys, all of you folks, to change not the physical structure of the playground, but the social structure of the playground.
At the end of this project, we hope that the students will continue to use design thinking as a tool to interact with their physical and social landscape in new ways. Special thanks to everyone who helped us throughout this project.